of the Growthpreneurs podcast. If you're listening right now, good morning, wake up. It's time to uh, brick by brick start to build a phenomenal 2022. This is going to be the best year that you've ever had, but only if you make it the best year that you've ever had, right? So I'm just going to confirm that we're live, and then we're going to get into the topic for today. And we are live. So if you're listening right now, I want you to put live or grow in the comments because I think that it's important for you to do so. I want to connect with you. I want to follow you. I want to know who you are and be able to ring that bell so that I get notified when you do more content. What we're going to be talking about today are 10 skills that helped me build the multi-million-dollar business that I've built, Growth Academy, and how you can kind of leverage these skills in your own life, right? And delving into each of these 10 skills is extremely important because I want you to start the year off right. So let me just see if I could do something here. I'm going to enter the studio 1 second. And I am, okay, 1 second. Let me see. Okay, so we're live. I had to confirm, okay? So here are the 10 skills that helped me build a multi-million-dollar online business. And if you don't know me, my name is Shanae Murray. I'm the founder of Growth Academy, where we teach entrepreneurs how to get seen by people who can pay them for what they sell, right? We do this, we start with LinkedIn, but we really focus on all social media channels that make sense for that particular entrepreneur. So let's talk about it. 10 skills that help me build a multi-million-dollar online business. The first is calculated risk taking. Okay. You have to take risks and you're going to have to bet on yourself. The people that I see win are the people that continuously take calculated risks and continuously bet on themselves because they know that they themselves are going to deliver. They have this conviction that they're going to show up, they're going to do what they need to, they're going to get around the people that they need to get around, they're going to learn and invest in the skills that they need to learn. It's not a gray zone for them. For them going into decisions, it's I am going to make this happen no matter what. As long as I have my health, right? And I could physically move and I'm not incapacitated, right? So I have a few moments of this where I bet on myself, where I took calculated risks, and I want to share them with you. So when I quit my job in 2018, so this is in July 2018, I was given an ultimatum by my boss while my baby girl was in the hospital, right? But when I did that, I quit my job and I became a freelancer. I bet on myself. Now, this was, I'd say, the biggest bet because I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have resources. I didn't have savings. I had a baby girl. I'm a single mom, right, at the time. And it was risky, but I want you to understand calculated risk. So when I made this decision, when I said, okay, I'm going to quit this job because I'm not going to tolerate this behavior, I'm not going to tolerate someone putting me in this position, right? Because what you tolerate will continue. I really thought, what's the worst thing that could happen, right? The worst thing that could happen is if I give myself 1 month to generate income online. I didn't know how that was going to happen. But if I just gave myself 1 month and it didn't work out, I'd obviously not have any savings. So I may, have been evicted from my tiny apartment, may lose car, may just lose it all. But what I had wasn't much to begin with. And then I would have to maybe recoup at my mom's house for a few months. So that would be the absolute worst thing that could happen in that scenario. But what I would lose wasn't that much versus what I could gain, right? So, what is the best thing that could happen? And I thought to myself in that moment, okay, the best thing that could happen was I thought this was the best thing that could happen, right? I didn't even think it could go this far. But at the time, I said I could replace my full time income by working from home on my laptop, right? and my daughter wouldn't have to go to a daycare because that's where she got sick in the first place. And she was prone to getting sick because she was born as a preemie, right? So my initial goal was just I could replace my full-time income at home from my laptop and spend more time with my daughter. Of course, what happened was far beyond what I even imagined at the time, right? Because my income, what I was taking home then was around like 500 and change a week, which is very, very little, right? Looking back. Um, and that was 3 years ago. And when you look at what I was making then versus now, I make more than I made in a complete month 3 years ago in an hour now, right? So I made a little bit over $2,000 in a month then, and I easily make that in an hour now. So when we're looking at risk versus reward, sometimes we don't even foresee how far things can compound, right? But just think initially, like, what's the best thing that could happen versus what is the worst, right? So that's the first kind of example. So when you weigh risk and reward, you really have to think about what you have to lose. Now, the next bet was when I went from outbound cold pitching and cold calling to testing out content for 30 days. And yet again, I bet on myself. So initially, when I got on LinkedIn and when I started to get some freelance clients online, I relied heavily on outbound messaging, right? On outbound cold calling and things like that. And although I was able to secure a few clients, right? It wasn't the way that I wanted to do business. It didn't feel authentic to me, right? And so I wanted to create content to see if it would move the needle in my business, but more than anything, allow me to get inbound business. And again, what's the worst thing that could happen in this scenario is that I give it a go for a month, right? And I would create terrible content. It would not move the needle for my business. I'd maybe embarrass myself a little bit, but what's the worst thing? That is the worst thing. Now, the best thing is that I thought at the time I would just get a few inbound clients every month online. I didn't even foresee building a personal brand, right? I didn't foresee building a community or building an entire business out of visibility and really online presence, right? But again, what we foresee sometimes is so tiny to what can compound. So much more than that has obviously happened. So in 3 years, I've been able to generate almost 400 million views organically with mostly just my cell phone and this camera now for live streaming that I only really know how to turn on and off. It's too fancy. And then, I've been able to build a network on LinkedIn, which is not easy to build a network on LinkedIn of over 1.1 million followers. And I've been able to build a private community, right? My private community growth academy. So none of these things were on my radar, right? I just went in thinking, what is the worst thing that could happen if I did dedicate myself to 1 month of content creation because I didn't like to cold outreach. Okay. So that's kind of the second example. Now, the third example is when I co-founded MedSnake Media with Courtney Herring, my co-founder who I met on LinkedIn. I bet on myself. And I know a lot of people have questions regarding like partnerships and things like that. And we're going to make a series on it. But again, what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay. The worst thing that could happen is that Courtney had some weird plan to co-found a business with me and then, blah, blah, blah. Like people think really crazy stuff, right? And then it just wouldn't work out. But what's the best thing that could happen is that we work together and we change our lives, right? We serve healthcare companies. At the time we were serving healthcare companies. We learn along the way and all of the most amazing things happen. And we did it, right? And then so the fourth example that I have here is when I saw the need for ongoing learning for entrepreneurs and the need for them to understand, especially founders, the need to understand visibility, right? When the pandemic hit, I was bombarded. I already had a few 100,000 followers on LinkedIn And I was bombarded in my DMs with people asking, how exactly do I reach my audience on LinkedIn, online in general, because they had depended on referrals and in-person networking for too long, right? So once I saw this need, I told Courtney, I was like, listen, I have this feeling again, right? There's this need. I need to help people. And I'm going to go all in on this while you handle the agency, right? We had a growth agency for healthcare, MedSnake Media. And again, what's the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen was that Growth Academy would just have never worked, right? I would have tried to help people, but it just wouldn't have worked. And then I would have just returned to the agency and to rebuild it, right? But what's the best thing that could happen? I thought to myself is that we could literally change hundreds of thousands of lives over the next 5 years, right? At least 1,000 the first year, tens of thousands in the second year, so on and so forth. So, and it's been happening, right? So the reward for me has been much, much greater than anything ever. And it's been one of the best decisions of my life, right? And I change people's lives by teaching them how to get seen, right? By people who can pay them and them not having to go back to a job, right? Them feeling the confidence of winning, them really coming into their own and into their own voice and into their own confidence, building their brand. It's just transformation after transformation. And again, the reward and the results have been much greater than I initially imagined. The point is, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. By the way, right, I want to make this clear. These decisions were made fairly quickly, each and every single one of these decisions. Now, that's my style of decision making. I'm not saying that you can't make a phenomenal decision by really thinking it over, because I have a mentor who's like that, right? But I will say for me, in my situation, I've made each of these decisions pretty quickly. Okay. I didn't linger in a gray area. So I didn't think about when I received that ultimatum, like, am I going to go back to the job? Let me just get a new job and then, I'll try it next year. No, I just made a decision and I grabbed my laptop and I started Googling, how can I make money online? How can I freelance write online and make money? And I started finding all of these articles, right? Because one of my skill sets is writing. And I found one that led me to LinkedIn, okay, that night. And then what did I do? I created a LinkedIn and I started optimizing the profile based on whatever it is that I read in the article. Now, it wasn't the best article, but I did it, right? So I made a decision and I leaned in. And actually, before even leaving the hospital with my daughter a few days later, I had recommendations on my profile because I had already started to reach out to people. I didn't have clients, right? But I started to reach out to people and offering them free blog posts in exchange for a recommendation if they liked it. So those were like the first tiny things that I did, but I didn't think about it. I actually took action. So the point is that you have to be courageous to be successful. You have to be willing to make decisions fast when other people freeze and just think about it. All right. So that's 1 out of 10. That's the first skill that helped me, build a multi-million-dollar online business, calculated risk taking. And if you want to kind of delve into each of these, I talk about each of these in the masterclass. And the masterclass that I'm having, the next one is today, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go to yougrow.club, yougrow.club to register. So let's get to number 2, the video. Video is a skill set. People think that they can just grab, and maybe you can, maybe you're a phenom, right? But I didn't just grab my phone and start, doing videos that were gaining engagement and bringing me clients the first try. It didn't work that way. Video is a skill and one that you get better at with practice. Video is the reason why I started to get inbound leads, right? Video is the reason why I started to get podcast invites, why I met Courtney Herring, because she saw a video of mine on LinkedIn, who's now my co-founder. Video is the reason why I was introduced to my first mentor. Video is the reason why so many of the connections that I've made, the clients that I've served have opened doors for me, right? So I just want to say, because I got asked this question in a masterclass on Saturday, and the person was like, "Listen, I understand video is important, but what if I'm double your age?" And it's actually a phenomenal question, because it's a question that people think of, but they don't really want to ask. And it doesn't matter your age, right? I've actually helped people grow who are 45 plus years old, and they've grown at a faster rate than me in the first 9 months, as long as they were consistent and following the system. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. This person was a male, 45 plus years old. Okay, grew faster than me to his first 100,000 followers in his first 9 months. So that said, what really matters is the delivery, your authenticity, and using what you know and using real experience. So part of bringing value to a video is like, I'm giving you experience examples, right? Like when I was given the ultimatum in the hospital, I went through the thought process of risk versus reward. That's how I can bring value to this particular video. I'm not regurgitating something that I saw somewhere else, right? This is based on my personal experience, and understanding what experiences to choose, to bring your skill sets forward and to attract the right people is an art. And that's what I focus on. That's what I help people with within Growth Academy. And I could tell you this, video is game changing. You don't need a million followers. Even by reactivating people in your network, it could be game changing. If you didn't even gain a follower and you have experience, if you have colleagues, if you have whoever, you'd be surprised who you could just reactivate by showing up on camera. All right. And video is going to be one of the things we're going to be touching on in the masterclass today pretty heavily. So if you're someone, even an introvert, right, who just doesn't know where to start, then go to the masterclass. It'll be worth every second of your time. It's completely free. All you have to do is invest about 2 Netflix episodes worth of your time tonight. And if your business and reaching the right people is important to you in 2022, then you'll be there. I don't do replays. So if you miss it, you miss it. Go to ugrow.club to register. So video is really the second skill set. And it's something that obviously with any skill set you practice, and when you practice, you get better, right? So the third thing is consistency on social media has really led me to life-changing connections, right? So showing up on LinkedIn, for example, for the first 6 months, yes, I got clients along the way. Yes, I got amazing opportunities, but it wasn't until the 6th month until I secured my 6-figure client through an introduction. Okay. And then this person also became a mentor. And just being around him, understanding how, multimillionaires move, think, make decisions, how they work, right? How they serve people was something that accelerated my growth. So understanding that maybe every year you'll meet 3, I would say 2 to 3 life-changing connections, understanding that one of the values of that is just immense learning within a short amount of time, right? Accelerated growth, access to networks, access to information that you need, but also understanding that even if you don't get a client for 2 months on social, that 100th connection, right, could potentially be that life-changing one. So having a little bit of patience and just being consistent. And obviously this is extremely hard, because if it were easy, everyone would be consistent, but it's not. Then in April 2021, so again, it became really part of my lifestyle. And I think consistency is a character trait. I think it's also a skill set that you learn. So in April 2021, just because I was consistent on Clubhouse, I then met my second mentor, who's also been life-changing and helped accelerate our growth in 2021 by 517%. Okay. Which brings me to kind of the fourth thing, which is observation. I think that observing is a skill set. I'm pretty quiet most of the time. People think that I'm an extrovert just because I create content, but I'm actually pretty quiet most of the time and I observe. My ability to listen to people, to watch people, to understand how they move, understand what they need, understand how I can help them with what they need, right? As well as understand what other people in the market are offering them and how we can differentiate ourselves to provide a better experience for our clients is something that I really feel is one of the skill sets that has helped me build this business, and that I continue to just hone down along the way, right? You just get better and better. The fifth thing is speed. So, yes, taking action fast is a skill. I think that speed is a skill. And, for example, last night I messaged someone asking a question, and I was able to get them on a Zoom within, a couple of minutes, clarified that question and got my question answered, right? So, I didn't have to schedule like, oh, can you do a Zoom on Sunday? Sometimes you just have to ask, right? And so nothing will beat actually doing work, because there is a compound effect in what you learn doing the work. There's also confidence that you gain by doing the work that no one who just sits back and thinks about it will ever be able to beat. So, for example, people ask me, you don't have to do these master classes. Why do you do them? And the reason why I do master classes once or twice a week is that I love to learn, right? I'm getting better and better and better and better and better. I understand more and more what my audience needs within the private master class through feedback. And so we're able to refine it, right? But on top of that, I love the live Q&A that I offer, and I'm able to answer your questions live. But questions that really stand out are able to serve us, because then I can answer them in different pieces of content, right? So all of the questions that people ask me are an opportunity for me to get better, right? And a piece of content to be leveraged. So for example, the question the other day where someone asked, what if I'm double your age? How do I then approach video? That could be a whole series in and of itself. And I get value from practice because I want to be able to provide the best presentation possible to our clients. And that's just not possible without engaging with prospects and without clients consistently, right? It's just not. So the sixth skill is engagement. Yes, engagement is a skill set. Knowing who to support and knowing how to comment on someone's post in a way that elevates your brand without diminishing theirs and still being respectful is a skill. It's one that's harder to teach than you would think. And it's one that is less understood than you would think. I would say it's a very soft skill, but it's one that can be taught with the right training. That's something that we focus on within our program, LinkedInpreneurs especially. But even understanding who to engage with and why, and how to become that top comment could be life-changing for your brand. The seventh is community building. So building a private community for us has been an essential part of the business, and it's a unique skill. It's different than audience building, right? So on LinkedIn, people are my network, people are my audience. But when they join Growth Academy, they become part of the community. So building a private community requires rules. You have to know who should and should not be in the community. You have to know the rules to set up for the space, because everyone should feel safe, especially as it gets bigger. You have to remove people who are not, abiding by the rules, right? And you can't apologize for it, because the community comes first. You have to also understand how to facilitate a space where magical connections can happen. So we've had people become partners. We've had people invite each other on podcasts left and right, live shows, create live shows together, do business together, refer to each other. So how does that happen? That only happens when the right culture is there. And I think that community building, even if you just understand community moderation, you can make six figures in 2022. Online community moderation is a skill in and of itself. That brings me to skill number 8, which is live cohort facilitation. One of the ways that Growth Academy differentiates is we run live cohort classes, not on-demand courses that you could just watch. Although we do have them, we have the live cohort classes, And that's really the core and the heart of what it is that we do, because we have an 80% completion rate when it comes to those. And we make learning fun again, right? So people show up, they network, it's fun, they learn, and they want to show up. But knowing how to facilitate a live cohort is not easy, which is why most people just do pre recorded classes. It's a skill set, there has to be structure, and the structure has to be right for learning. There has to be, there definitely has to be organization, opportunity for live Q&A, opportunity for interaction, but at the same time, things still have to get done and be organized. So just understanding that skill set's very soft skill set, and it's one that you learn through practice, but live cohort facilitation is essential. 9, partnerships and being giving, right? So I'm open to partnerships. That's why I have a co-founder. That's why I'm also coachable and I have mentors. And that's why I'm also always like communicating with my mentors and my co-founder about who we can bring in, what does the future look like? What other skill sets do we need to tap into, network resources, et cetera. And I understand ultimately that my assignment, right? My divine assignment given to me is too big for me to carry alone. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs cap themselves because they want to do it all alone and they don't allow themselves the space for partnership. They're again thinking so negatively, like what is the worst thing that could happen here? People are always out to get you or whatever. Just because one person may have done that in the past doesn't mean that everyone is like that. And just understand, like, look at all the big companies, look at all the people that have made life-changing, innovations for us. They didn't do it alone, right? And I really feel like our word for the year is team, because we want to meet you. We're growing our team. We want you to be part of the Growth Academy team, and nothing is ever done alone. So the fact that I'm open to partnership and I have partnerships and I have mentors that put on the pressure, right? And that are not afraid to call me out and things like that. And a co-founder as well. So I think you just have to be coachable and you have to be willing to have partnerships. And then the 10th skill that I think has been life-changing for me is resilience. So I don't give up, right? Like it's like that Babe Ruth quote, you can't beat someone that doesn't give up. And so when I fall and I fail and I fall flat on my face, when we try something new and it doesn't work, sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes, you just cry and because you're frustrated, but you just have to roll up your sleeves, right? You call your personal board of directors, you take a shower, you drink some water, whatever, you listen to insights, and then you do it again, right? Or you do something different, but you never give up. So never allow failure to destroy you, even if it's super frustrating. Never allow it to define you. Understand it that it really just is feedback, and understand that you need people like your personal board of directors, mentors, co-founder to be there and understand, that will help you back up when you fail. But ultimately, you have to help yourself back up too, because they may be helping you, but if you don't get back up, it's kind of pointless, right? So resilience is extremely important. Understanding that this is a long-term thing. I don't do things with like, oh, what's the goal for 2022? Yes, 2022 is great. We have goals for 2022, but I'm thinking about like 2045, right? What's going to happen in the next 10 years? What's going to happen in the next 20 years? What's the 30-year play here? Long-term thinking and never giving up, I think already differentiates you, put you in a different position. And I think that one of the biggest reasons that people fail to build a multi-million-dollar online business is because they're not willing to fail enough. All right. They're not willing to do the work, and they're not willing to maybe be wrong. Okay. And learn when they are wrong to do something different, put their ego aside and maybe do what someone else suggests. So It's all about teamwork. And like people say, teamwork makes the dream work. So I'd love to show you what I've learned, especially to grow my network and to get business on LinkedIn. And if you want to learn with me today, this evening, go to yougrow.club, yougrow.club. It'll probably be the best 2 hours you've ever invested into your business with the greatest ROI because it's free other than the 2 hours that you invest. So I just want to say God bless you. I have a live cohort at 10:15. And I want to say, so much can change in such little time. And one of the greatest ways that this has ever been explained that I've seen on video is business is not like baseball. Baseball, you have limited returns. This was Jeff Bezos. Okay. So if you think about baseball, you go to the batter's base, whatever, and you could strike out, but the most you could do is hit a home run, right? The most you could do is get 4 bases. In business, you could strike out a million times, but if you hit once, right, you don't get a home run. You could get 40,000 home runs with one hit. So there's no limit. So I just want you to understand that work compounds, skills compound, decisions compound. And in business, you're literally one decision away from $1 million. You're one offer away from $1 million. You're one connection away from your next $1 million. And you're literally one sometimes chance, risk, bet on yourself away from changing your life. But no one can take action but you. And I just see people that they're too stuck in their head when they should just be doing the work, gaining the skills, and letting the work show them what they need to do next. It's one foot in front of the other. I didn't go into creating content to build a personal brand. I went into creating content to see if it would be better than cold calling. From there, once I started to build a community, I started to learn, right? And I think that people want the end goal without allowing the process to happen. So I'll see those of you who want quantum growth in 2022 at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There is no replay. God bless you. I love you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.